I mean, Capone is basically Sauron without extra mystery. He's just out there, the bad that they're working against.
That's great.
That's my hot take.
Welcome to Josh's House of Nerd podcast.
Hello, Nerd Nation. I'm Josh, and I welcome you to the podcast. Grab a cold evergreen goblet of blue milk and make yourself comfortable here at my House of Nerd. Now, for today on the podcast, we're on the topic for the month, which is Mafia movies. And tonight's movie is the 1987 American crime movie, The Untouchables, directed by Brian De Palma, and stars Kevin Costner, Charles Martin Smith, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro, Sean Connery, and follows Elliot Ness as he forms the Untouchables team to bring Al Capone to justice during Prohibition. Let's talk about that movie, guys. What did you think? I mean, this is, the way I understand it, this is kind of a classic of the gangster movies.
I mean, it depends on what you mean by classic. I mean, it's certainly a good one, and it was it's very popular with kind of the rerun crowd from like the 90s and stuff like that, since made in 87. So it was played a lot, and a lot of people really liked it. But I don't hear a lot of people talking about it now. You know, it's not like something comes up constantly now, like say Godfather or something like that, that really people still talk about now.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with him. I also have kind of heard the same thing of, you just don't hear it talked about as much these days, like some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's not as. I don't know if it's. I think it's done well in the test of time, but at the same time, it's not a. It's not the first movie somebody thinks of when they think of Mafia movies. And that's okay. Like I'm not upset about that, because I think it's a really good movie that stands on its own, and it's fun to be like, hey, if you like Mafia movies, have you heard of this one yet? For people that are just getting into the genre, or haven't really experienced much of it. So I don't necessarily mind that it's not one of the Scarface or Godfathers of the genre.
No, and I don't know. I've seen some of those other movies, and this one kind of, I don't know. Does it feel like it was a little bit slower? Like the progression of it was a little slow to you guys?
It reminded me of The Great Escape, kind of.
Okay.
In
what sense?
The progression.
Okay.
Like the speed of it reminded me of The Great Escape, where it was a much slower build up. And then the climax of the film wasn't necessarily fast or something like that. But it like I said, it really reminds me of The Great Escape. So if I was comparing movies tempos, I think that's what I would pick to be kind of its twin.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised on how kind of slow the progression was. I expected it to be something a little bit more, I guess, fast paced, a little bit, more action than it was, instead of a kind of a slow, methodical, kind of like almost felt like to me like almost like a detective movie or something like that. Kind of moving along, getting the finding the clues and things.
2
like
hours
that.
long too, so
yeah, it was pretty long.
Yeah, and honestly, I like that. This is a movie I could program to or do something else while watching and really enjoy. Like it, I like it, and to me, the first time I saw this, I think I was home from school for some reason, and saw this as a rerun on I think AMC or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and it just, I don't know, it fit the time, so there's a little bit of nostalgia in there. But I like that tempo of movie sometime. I think it worked out really well for it. and the subject matter for it kind of played into it, I think.
The only thing I could think of when I was watching this movie is the Geraldo Rivera thing of Al Capone's vault and stuff. Did you guys ever hear about that?
No,
They did like
not a big Rivera watcher.
Well, me either. But it was just like this thing that happened in the late early '90s, late '80s, where there was like this huge like ABC News special about opening Al Capone's vault for the first time, and they found nothing. There was nothing in there. and then Weird Al Yankovic made fun of that in UHF, where they opened the glove box of Al Capone's car, and all they found was road maps. And,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a movie we need to get on the podcast.
UHF?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to get UHF on the podcast. It's one of my favorites.
I haven't seen that one for probably 10, 15 years.
It was out of print for a long time.
Yeah. Was it just me, or was the voiceover work on this a little sloppy?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It kind of, I don't know.
And like the guy's death scene at the end, the special effects for it were also kind of sloppy.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that way.
I'm like, this is 87, right? This isn't like 67. Like it felt like they ran out of money or something. I don't know.
I mean, they had 25 million.
Yeah. Well, it's shocking because it's a Brian De Palma film. He's usually known for,
the camera work was really well done. As far as like, or at least I say well done. It was at least very interesting. Like there was so many, like that walk and talk oneer they did when the guy, right before the guy murdered what's his face in the elevator. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that would have. Yeah, I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, or but that oneer through the hallway where they're following lots of different characters. So it's really well done. I mean, very, post Spielberg doing it and stuff like that. But still, it was
the one where Sean Connery died. Really that was a pretty good one through the window.
Yeah, we're using the
perspective.
Yeah, using the camera as a voyeur. Yeah, and everything. Yeah, it was very Hitchcock, which was interesting. Yeah. I don't know. As much as like there was some sloppy stuff it just kind of took me out of the show because it was like this quality is really low. For the most part, like the filmmaking, I was like, it's interesting to watch, like just to watch what they do with the camera and stuff. Even just the opening shot, of them, just straight down on Capone getting a shave and everything else like that. It's like that shot holds for a long time so that you can read the text on the screen, but also then it, kind of dollies in, and it's really kind of neat as far as like an opening setup. It just kind of gets your attention,
I agree. I mean, that kind of reminded me of like a lot of other, definitely Mafia movies, like a Scarface or some of those other ones, or Godfather, more Godfather, I think. From that aerial shot, just kind of the room feel and stuff like that. But
did you think De Niro made a good Capone?
I don't think he made a bad Capone.
No, I think De Niro did De Niro.
Yeah, De Niro did De Niro. Yeah,
a 30-pound heavier De Niro. Apparently, he gained about 30 pounds for the role.
Oh, really? I mean, Capone was supposed to be kind of a chunkier dude.
Yep, he was really worried about his face shape for the film.
Well, actor's gonna diva. And I did notice that he was a little heavier, but I think De Niro is a great actor, but like a lot of actors, they're kind of very similar in a lot of their movies, I don't know. Like I say, I kind of felt like De Niro did De Niro. I mean, he didn't do a bad job at all. He did a really great job.
Daniel Day-Lewis wants a word. Like there's actors out there, or Gary Oldman.
Okay. I was about to say, like Gary Oldman would blow that away. Oh, yeah. But I know what you're saying.
Maybe that's what you're saying, is that they're few and far between that are actual, like, truly disappear into the character, as opposed to just watching that person be named something
Sean
different.
Connery.
Yeah.
Sean Connery was Sean Connery.
He's just Connery.
He's like Liam Neeson is the same way as I think as Sean Connery. Those two I think are on the same level.
I'm pretty sure Liam Neeson like pretty much mapped his career onto Sean Connery's.
It's like I'm just gonna be Sean Connery 2.0.
At least his late career, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really paid attention to Liam Neeson's early career, so I don't know.
I mean, there's some good ones out there.
One of his first ones was Never Ending Story. He's like one character. He's not even named, I think, in the movie and stuff like that. He's just kind of an actor off in the distance. But
right.
Anyway. But yeah, he did a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty much he's stuck in a character, I feel like, nowadays.
Yeah, no more Qui-Gon Jinn for him.
Right.
It's sad days.
I mean, he was in Silence. He was in Rob Roy. Rob Roy was great.
Well, I mean, his earlier movie career, he did a lot of different ones. Lately, he's just doing a lot of I'm a man on a mission and I'm going to save this person or that person or my daughter. I mean, heck, I just saw another one that he has coming out that is really similar to those and stuff. Anyways, I think I got my point across that, De Niro is De Niro. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's, he doesn't have a lot of definition when it comes to playing different parts. But when people pick him and allow him to be De Niro in a De Niro part, he's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great actor.
And same with
and I don't want people to think, I don't want people to think that, we're saying they're not great actors. They are. They're fantastic actors. They just have particular roles that they fit in, and they can't go outside of that. Like an Oldman. Oldman can do anything, in my opinion. Gary Oldman is one of the chameleons of the acting world, in my opinion. He is so good. I mean, I just watched him not that long ago in it wasn't Dunkirk. What was that one? The one
where he's Churchill?
Churchill. Yeah, the one that was Churchill.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so good in it. And anyway. So, yeah. What do you guys think? What did you guys think about Costner?
I think he was a good fit for the writing of the character and the role. Mm-hmm. Like, it reminded me a little bit of his not tons of his Dances with Wolves thing, but at the same time it's his plucky, do good, stay true, stay on the right character who always does right by those around him.
Mm-hmm.
That character again. So I think he did just fine. Like I enjoyed watching him. I didn't think his acting was cringe or anything like that, or didn't feel like he was doing a horrible job. I think he was a good fit for the role.
Right. No, I would agree with you. I think he's a good fit as well. I mean, that was his early days. I mean, that's where, and in my opinion, that's where he was kind of at the height of his acting career at that time, or starting to come into it.
Yeah, when was Field of Dreams? Because that one really pushed him in. Was it before or after that?
Good question. I can look that up.
I have a feeling that Field of Dreams was like 87, but
89, so it was after.
Yeah. So like Field of Dreams is when he just like took off. But yeah, I think this was definitely on the run up.
I forgot Ray Liotta was in Field of Dreams.
It's his father. Ray Liotta plays his father in Field of Dreams.
No, he plays Shoeless.
Oh no, he's Shoeless Joe Jackson. He's the guy. Sorry, you're right. I remembered that wrong.
It's okay.
Yeah. How dare you, Josh? Like,
dang it!
Now I own the podcast.
Son of a.
We're just gonna trade the podcast around to whoever was away from whoever was last wrong
on movie trivia.
Yeah.
It's like, you got this wrong. Sucks for you.
It's now John's House of Nerd.
That's gonna really throw off the algorithm.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But yeah, Ray Liotta. He's a good one too. You know what? In this movie, I don't know if I would have been able to pick out Andy Garcia though.
Really?
I mean, well, I don't know. He just seemed.
I mean-
he was just so young.
He was young.
Yeah, he was very young in this one.
Very young. Yeah.
So I mean, I might have suspected him being Andy Garcia, but I mean, yeah, it was one of those things. I was like, is it? I knew it was coming into the movie, but I was still like, is that Andy Garcia I'm looking at? Oh yeah, it is.
Well, it took me forever to make the connection that this was the same guy that plays Terry's Benedict in Ocean's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did it?
Like, yeah, it took me a long time to make the connection between the two.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
So, because that's probably where I first saw Andy Garcia was in Ocean's 11.
Uh-huh.
Because I think I saw Ocean's 11 before I ever saw The Untouchables.
Oh, I definitely did this. This is the first time I'd ever seen The Untouchables.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I find that a little surprising, just because of how long this has been around. I guess again it comes down to that discussion we had that it's not one of the touchstone mafia movies because I mean it's about the mafia, it's mafia adjacent.
Yeah, but you guys got to understand that when I before I met you guys, I wasn't really watching movies like this.
Well, I'm just surprised you dodged the reruns. There were so many of them. They play this all the time on lots of different channels.
And I'd always change the channel.
Oh, well, yeah. That's how you watched it.
That would do it.
You know, and that's the thing. I would always change a channel, and I would just be like, it was, not for me type thing. But, finally I saw, I've seen pieces and parts, but I never watched the entire thing.
So,
but
go ahead. No,
I was going to say, the one thing I was going to say that in watching this though, is there's a couple of scenes that I noticed or in this movie that I've seen be or there's one scene that I've seen kind of mocked in another movie. I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from. And it's the baby carriage going down the stairs.
The staircase. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that marked in a few movies. I
was just about to ask. Well, I do believe I'm going to get this wrong, I know, but I thought it was an homage to like the 1925 film Battleship Potemkin, a black and white Russian movie that was very like formulative and like ground cutting, or I guess groundbreaking at the time, because it has a very similar shot. Sort of. It has a similar setup, sort of.
Okay.
I guess. Anyway, what I was going to ask was actually about that. Did you find that entire sequence, like I'm talking like he's standing up and noticing her all the way to the very last shot, was that too long, too short? Did it keep your interest the whole time? What were your feelings when you were watching that?
I knew it was going to happen. I kind of guessed it, and I feel like it went on a little too long in the build up to it, because I knew he was eventually going to go down and help her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was evident that was going to happen, and I knew that I could see what they were trying to do, build like tension about that, and
like will he, won't he type thing.
Yeah.
Except for his character is such a paragon that there was like no question.
Right.
And so they didn't need to spend all that time of will he, won't he. They could have like painted the picture and then shown, okay, yeah, now he's going to help her, because he's such a paragon. Like he's not going to not help her. Like,
yeah, but is he a paragon by the end of the film?
That's a very good question. Yeah, after pushing,
I mean, he basically lied to the judge. He pushed the guy off the building. He talked about, but saying that, he broke laws to get this, thing happening. Of course, they never really leaned into what those laws were. So we never got to see before he just says it, I guess. I guess walking into the post office, that first bust, and without a warrant was definitely breaking laws.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It's
a
building, so.
But by the time you have that scene with the mother and his child, this is before he's pushed anyone off the roof, though.
True, but he has gone along with things that may or may not be paragonish. in
That's
nature.
true.
So yes, it always couched him as kind of he's upright citizen and lawful good and everything else like that. But at the same time, it's like you know I wonder if the movie would have been more interesting if it was been more like a character study and you saw him basically sink into being the same as the people he's going after. But they didn't really lean into that, so I don't know. They kind of hinted at it.
Yeah. So I mean, to answer your question fully about that scene, I think because it already been kind of telegraphed what probably, or I already guessed what had happened. I felt like it did go on a little too long into that scene. It should have been, her talking to the baby, moving her luggage. That could have been moved up a little bit, but I mean, overall, it was a fine scene. I don't know. I'm really struggling with some of the things in here. I know what the scenes are supposed to be doing. I know they're shot well, but I just in some of these scenes, I'm just not feeling the tension that I think that they want me to be feeling.
Gotcha. Understandable.
And that's kind of the problem I found with that whole entire scene. It was fine. It was a fine scene. It just kind of was just kind of like, I know what's going to happen here. But it ended kind of cool. It ended kind of cool with the guy, they played out the guy shoots really well thing.
Yeah.
That they established like way early in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I like it that they, I always kept wondering if that was going to come back. I was guessing it probably would. And I thought that was kind of cool that he was holding the stroller and shot the guy at the same time. That was cool. So, I mean, it ended, it was kind of slow to get going, maybe not as amazing as I thought it probably should be in that kind of shootout. And then, but the end kind of, I guess, saved it a little bit in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it just didn't have, I don't know, some of those scenes that I feel like should have had energy just didn't have the energy. And I don't know if it was like the filming style or just the era of filmmaking at that time, but that's kind of, what I feel. It's just the energy wasn't there that I think that should have been.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think there's, it's just, I think it's a lack of energy. The whole show kind of has a lack of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that slowness. Again, Great Escape, I think, had a little bit more energy just because I don't know if it was a different thing, but it's the same feeling of not quite lethargy, but almost.
But we've seen movies that are slow movies that still hold your interest, have energy, pull you in. I mean, and this just kind of missed the mark a little bit, in my opinion, in that genre, because we've seen movies that do this. There's tons of movies that I love that are slow moving movies that do pull you in and have the energy, even though it's still kind of slower paced,
Yeah.
I mean, you could start doing Arrival, or you could start saying Blade Runner 2049, or there's lots of these slower paced movies that are just amazing movies that still suck you in. This one just didn't.
Yeah, I think it's a long movie, but then do you really know Elliot Ness or Capone through this movie? Do you know who they are? Do you know what they struggle with? Not really. It's kind of plot set.
That's a good point.
And it's just like you're moving from one event to the next, but you don't understand the motivation. You kind of understand the motivation around Elliot Ness, but you maybe just a little bit behind Capone, but not enough to really dig into those characters and make them interesting. The only one that you're like, oh, this has some mystery and everything else like that is Sean Connery's character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's something there in the background. They never tell you what it is, kind of why he's choosing, but they hint at it enough that you're like, oh, this is intriguing. And then of course it's Sean Connery playing charismatic badass. So yeah, it works, as far as that goes. But like, yeah. I think Ness and Capone weren't. I think the acting was fine. I bet the writing I bet I have an issue with the writing just isn't very good for those two characters. Like it just doesn't endear me to either one of them throughout the movie. And it's a long movie to kind of sit with them and not come to know them in any real way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Capone, because he's the antagonist. It's like, this movie treats, I don't know, everyone that's not on the Untouchables as the antagonist. So it's just too wide. It's spread thin.
Yeah, they're always playing to the police officers or trying to bring someone in that everybody is on the take.
I mean, Capone is basically Sauron without extra mystery. He's just out there, the bad that they're working against.
That's great.
That's my hot take.
Sauron. Oh my goodness. That's going to be the thing I put on the front of the YouTube. Did you know that Al Capone is like Sauron?
Yeah. All right.
Is Elliot Ness Sauron ? That's what it will be.
Yeah, it'll have to take them a while to get to this point. Figure out where that's coming from.
But overall, I would say it's a fine movie. I don't really need to see this movie again though. I mean, but I'm not upset. I'm not upset that I saw it, you know.
Do we want to move to ratings then?
Do you guys have more you want to say?
I'm good.
I
mean, we're kind of wrapping. It seems like we're wrapping into the ratings anyways, so.
It's weird. Again, this is one of those movies I'm like, I thought we would have a lot to talk about.
Well,
it's kind of like Black Mass, huh?
Yeah. You hadn't seen it before, so, you know, it was up in the air whether we would have a lot.
And, you know, it's kind of like Black Mass where, like, I thought we would have a lot more to talk about, and we don't. We've, you know, pulled out the good stuff and things we like and don't like, and it was pretty quick. I'm going to give this movie 6 out of 10 is what I gave it.
You take that back. You take that back, Josh. You take that evil back. It's at least a 7.
Oh, it's at least a 7?
Wait, why is it a 7? I'm curious now.
Because it holds a nostalgic place in my heart.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
7. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
You can rate it whatever you'd like.
I'm like, all of a sudden I wasn't sure. I wasn't actually aware throughout this entire podcast that you were that emotionally invested in it.
I wasn't either.
So that was a surprise.
No, I enjoy it. Like it's got a nostalgic place in my heart. Like I watched it a lot, but other than that,
that's fair.
Yeah, the movie wasn't bad. I couldn't give it a 5, you know, because it wasn't bad.
I actually would be surprised though if Josh watched it again if his rating raised from 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think you get what you get out of the movie. There's not a whole lot on rewatch. It's kind of warm fuzzy, but it's not like, you know.
It's something to have on in the background.
Yeah.
I'd watch this with my mom. I think it's a good mom movie.
F-bombs and all.
F-bombs and all.
Okay, fair enough. I was a little surprised that I didn't know they swore like that in the 1920s, but you know, hey.
I mean, yes.
Or 30s, I should say.
When do you think they invented swear words?
No, the F word.
Even that.
I didn't know it went that.
You think it's a modern term?
I thought it was more like it became popular in the 60s or the 70s. I didn't know how far back it went.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting research project, but I don't have time.
Me either.
All right. I'll give this a 6 out of 10. I think the camera work and the set pieces raise it up from basically a 5. I think that's what makes it more enjoyable than just kind of an average film. But other than that, I'm kind of the same. I'm not necessarily, you know, contemplating watching this again. If it comes on, yeah, I may leave it up in the background if I don't have anything else going on. But I probably wouldn't seek it out.
Agreed. Very much agree. Great. Okay. That's our hot takes on this movie. Hope all you guys enjoyed it out there. And this week we go to our selections, and this week we're going to take our selections from Crit. Crit is picking.
All right. So, number 1, escape to a picturesque setting. Number 2, love is complicated. And number 3, mild-mannered might not be the right description.
I like number 3.
Sounds good to me, man.
Ooh, yay. Okay. And number 1, escape to a picturesque setting. That's in Bruges.
Okay. Oh, damn.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. Love is Complicated is a repeat. Casino. Kind of wanted to get Josh to watch it, but that's all right. And number 3, mild-mannered might not be the right description. A History of Violence.
Okay.
Oh.
That is that the one with
Viggo Mortensen?
Viggo Mortensen?
It's a David Cronenberg movie.
There is a very interesting scene in that film that will stick with me for the rest of my life. So I will share that next week when we actually talk about it.
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. we'll see if you do next week.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen any of 3 of those movies, so any of them would have been fine for me.
Awesome.
Okay, and then I have the genre, right?
Yep, you have the next month's
genre. So Josh, how good is your expletive bleeping game for your podcast?
Good, I guess.
Okay, so this next genre is of movies is mind.
Okay.
So that's why I asked about your bleeping game.
Okay.
We could call it mind benders, I guess.
Okay.
I mean,
mind benders.
Yeah. If to have a family-friendly title for it,
or at least
YouTube friendly. Yeah.
YouTube friendly. That's true.
Okay. Is there any caveats on these?
Nope. It's wide open.
Okay. All right.
It's to your interpretation. Anything that messes with your mind, it's up to you. And I kind of wanted another wide open one.
Okay.
So see what you guys bring in.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna have to really think about that a little bit.
Man, can I put? I'm thinking of thinking of ending things back on the list again.
Yeah, well, we've got that.
No.
We could put a description on it for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
What are we calling this again? Not mind, but
mind benders.
Benders.
Yeah, that bent my mind in a different way, though, dude. Like, it bent it backwards instead. Anyway, yeah. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I could watch that movie again. Oh,
such a good movie. Okay,
I can think of a couple. I think that'll be a fun one to kind of think of, like when I watched a movie for the first time. Why did this movie like trip me out or whatever?
Yep.
Cool. All right. That'll be interesting. All right. I guess that'll be me bringing it to the table next week. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for the picks. Thank you for the discussion. I'm trying to write down mind bending. And as always, thank you everybody out there for listening to us ramble around about like these different movies that we do. We really enjoy it. We enjoy speaking to you about it, watching the movies. It's a good time for us, and thank you for listening to us. And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper from all of us here at Josh's House of Nerd. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe and check out our other nerdy videos.